Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome to CPD Business Building webinars. Today we're joined by Graham Hooper, and he is going to, I'm just trying to minimize my screen. It's not letting me minimize my screen, so I can't find my notes. That's very helpful. Bear with me a moment. So Graham is, he thrives on seeing people develop, and having done since he first discovered a book called The Reflective Practitioner 44 years ago, which we were just talking about. I was recommended it by David, and I just couldn't get on with it. However, that's what started him on his journey with reflective work and the coaching side of things. He worked in a management role with 120 staff for 18 years before jumping into self-employment. He's developed two multiple six-figure businesses since then. He's currently co-managing director of Tri Coaching Partnership. I've heard amazing things about him. And he's a fellow of the IAPC&M, who they also have an accredited level 5 coaching program with. Now, we like to start off these sessions with an interesting bit of information about our speakers. So this was a lovely one. He said the first time he went paragliding off a mountain, he let his kids go first to see if it worked. So welcome, Graham. For those of you who aren't sure how these sessions work, the topic will be shared. What we'll do is we'll allow you to share any information you want in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that, and then we'll feed that back at the end. So if there's any questions at the end, if Graham wants to open up the conversation, then he can do that, obviously, as we're going through. But over to you, Graham. Looking forward to learning from you.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. And I'm going to start this with a potential apology, because my Alexa machine has already told me I've got 3 Amazon deliveries this morning. How exciting. And I know that one of them has to be signed for. So if we have to pause it, I will apologize now. Okay, so what do I want to talk to you about? Motivation, especially the twin forces of motivation, of moving the client away from pain to gain pleasure. How intrinsic motivation is the key to maintaining change, and people buy for emotional reasons. Coaching is often based on the pain versus pleasure principle. And finally, I'll introduce a model of behavioural change to help facilitate your coaching. So the twin forces of motivation I will be discussing are pain and pleasure, moving clients away from pain and moving them towards pleasure. Now, just a little bit about my background, and I'll talk about my working background. I started as a betting shop manager at 18 in Tottenham, and I quickly discovered that my staff, who were all older than me, didn't respond well for me to telling them what to do. And I read a book called The Reflective Practitioner. Now, it was boring, but it did set me off on a path of reflection. And then I read a book called The 1 Minute Manager as well, which was really useful for helping me make decisions. I stayed in that industry for 18 years, become a district manager, had 120 clients working with me, not for me, but with me. And also, on top of that, I dealt with things that you wouldn't believe: attempted manslaughter, rape, arson, armed robbery. And most of my clients would turn up drunk, because back then the pubs turned out at 2 o'clock and the betting shops filled up at 3 o'clock. So it was interesting in learning about human behaviour, not only from a staff point of view, but from our client's point of view as well. I then got to that age where I wanted to make a change. Married, young family. In fact, I was sat in a betting shop in Northwold Road in East London, and I just had experienced another armed robbery, and I'd take the staff home, and I was working for the SOCO, waiting for the SOCO to turn up, which was a senior crimes officer. And I thought, I've got to get out. And I thought, I don't know what to do. And I became a driving instructor, which was really interesting, because I was good at working with people one-to-one because I'd had that experience of working with the staff, but I also was good at working in groups as well. And I quickly discovered that I wanted to do both. And in terms of coaching for driver development, I got involved with what was called the NDOR scheme, the National Driving Offenders Rehabilitation Schemes. And it's probably where I first bumped into this model that I'm going to give you today of behavioural change. I moved on, I did loads of CPD, went to the University of East London, studied evidence-based coaching. There's so much, became a fellow with the International Authority of Professional Coaches and Mentors. And so we developed a company called Try Coaching Partnership, and we developed a BTEC level 4 in coaching for driver development, and now our excellence in coaching program at level 5 with the IAPC&M. So just a little bit about my background, but I want to explain a little bit more about the pain versus pleasure principle. Firstly, let's think about some typical types of pain that we may all experience during our lives. And when I talk about pain, I'm talking about emotional pain. Take a moment and ask yourself, do you have pain in your life? We probably all have some types of pain that we want to move away from. We may all experience this during our lifetime, like failing a test, managers being annoyed with our performance, losing a financial bonus, complaining clients. Your clients will have an abundance of experiences that they are finding challenging. And if they haven't, get them to coach you. Yeah. The pleasure we want to move towards, though, is passing the test, managers being happy with us, receiving the bonus, happy clients. We all have pain, and pain is a really strong motivator because we want to lose the pain in our life, whatever that is. But funny enough, pleasure is not a strong motivator as pain. And during this presentation, I'll probably go on to explain this more. So with this in mind, if we were to think about marketing, let's think about what pain does your client want to lose? For example, they don't have enough money to give them the pleasures they seek in life. They can't hold down a relationship. They want to feel loved. They want to feel valued in the work that they do. They want to lose weight. They want to be healthier. If your clients are suffering any of these problems, you need to highlight what the benefits of working with you will offer to help them move away from pain and move towards an improved lifestyle that will give them the benefits they seek. You must make sure the pros of what you are selling outweigh the cons that the client is going to give up. And what I mean by that is generally the client is going to be giving up their time and their money. Why should they invest that in your coaching? From a marketing standpoint, we're offering a carrot to get away from the stick the clients often quite use to beat themselves with, like they're not worthy, etc. The pain of paying for a service has to be overcome. We sometimes do this in two ways. We stack them high and we keep them cheap. And you could sell quantity like group coaching, or you could give a high ticket price and you could sell quality. You can, of course, do both, and people will perceive quality. Having an upsell and stages of progress can be an incentive for clients. So let's have a look at some of the incentives. And I was thinking about this. We can compare a Rolex to a Timex. Both tell the time, but the difference in price is quite staggering. More pleasure will be gained by most people over the ownership, I nearly said Timex, but over the ownership of a Rolex. Why is that? Well, you generally get what you pay for. And also we have a perception of quality. I mean, we could take selling cars. Cars are sold as sexy. There's that one shaking my, yeah. They sell freedom. There's always surfboards and cars on the open beaches. They sell friendship. At the moment, we're all going to a football match in a car. Yeah. They sell speed. But actually, the reality is that we could be sitting on the M25 on a Friday afternoon, not going anywhere. But even then, that's a great opportunity to sell the in-car media entertainment. Yeah, and how to cheer yourself up while you're sitting there. Bang out some great tunes with your mobile in-car media entertainment, which is linked up to your Spotify or whatever they use these days. Hopefully, you can start to see how in marketing, they move us away from the pain of our reality into a future that is full of pleasures, and we buy. Now, that doesn't mean to say that your marketing should be dishonest, but it should be considered what will drive your market to buy your product and services. Price should not be a barrier to your success as a coach. Quite often, though, our own attitude towards money can get in the way of your success. What a pain that can be. Yeah. And you also may experience in your marketing the fear of failure, and you want to avoid that pain point, the fear of being rejected. This can often lead to that familiar monster, procrastination. And that's a whole new presentation. And I'm not going to do that one today. How can you be brave and overcome that fear of rejection when you go to the market? Why don't we like to ask someone to buy our services? We know that people like to buy. They get a big kick out of buying something. They get pleasure. We know that because, you know, you've only got to go to, well, if you go to the shops this Saturday afternoon, I'm sure they're going to be rammed. Yeah. And not only that, it becomes a shopping experience. You know, you get to buy a coffee and a hot dog. Your kids can play at a park, you know, while you're there. Some shopping places have cinemas, and there's a whole shopping experience. But sometimes, you know, us as a marketer, we're not giving that physical experience. So what can we do? We can maybe give them a FOMO, you know, the fear of missing out. There is limited places, time limited offers. This offer closes in, and the clock's ticking. 1 day, 5 hours, 36 minutes and 10 seconds, and the clock ticks down. Yeah, or an exclusive offer. Only to people who meet the necessary requirements can sign up for my course. People want to feel special. If our marketing will help them to think about moving away from their pain, then they are more likely to buy, and we know that. So that becomes a win-win for both parties, and also we gain some initial pleasure. We're currently offering a Black Friday deal. You know, if you sign up this month, you could, on our Excellence in Coaching program, save up to £1,600. So if that's not a motivator, nothing will be. But there's also the fact that you could become a great coach and have a completely different career and business, and move yourself away from that pain of 9 to 5, maybe. Also, in our Coaching and Excellence program, we include marketing your business. If you are a coach and want to become a coach, you're welcome to talk to me about the program. But moving on, I want to talk to you about intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is often the key to taking action. And later, when I explore a model of behavioural change with you, you will see why it's so powerful. Developing mastery of a new behaviour requires a degree of perseverance, because there will be failures along the way. Intrinsic motivation is doing something for internal reward, for personal satisfaction, for following your dream. It helps, though, if you or your client has a clear goal that is SMART. So SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based. SMART goals are a great starting point, but sometimes getting to that point to create a SMART goal in itself can be a challenge. So helping people overcome barriers, when also, you know, people often think, oh, they've had one failure, they've made one mistake, and that means they've failed completely. You know, we've all met that barrier that, oh, I've got that wrong, I want to give up. Well, if we at this time, if we can tap into the client's intrinsic motivation, I think Simon Sinek said, tap into their why. Simon Sinek, if you look him up on YouTube, he's a great motivator. And also targets. We need to think about targets. Do not need to be 100% success. Making small steps towards a final objective can be rewarding and motivating. It will increase your desire to try again. Having the ability to use feedback as a constructive tool towards change is an essential skill of a coach. Eliciting feedback about what went well first reminds the client of the positive actions they have taken. They can then be in a better frame of mind to deal with what didn't go so well and address how they're going to change to move away from those behaviours. Reflection is a huge learning tool and a powerful motivator which we, the coach, can facilitate. Coaching allows the client to take responsibility and autonomy for their actions. It gives them the control, and that is so significant for engagement and lifelong learning. It helps prevent relapses, giving up, going back, creating, if you want to create a behavioural change, you want to have the power to stick at it. So with control, they can fit what they are changing into the model of their world. Choice is a huge motivator. Telling people to change their behaviour doesn't work. It usually creates defensive responsibilities. It is the art of the coach to help the clients make good choices for themselves. Finding the purpose of change, adults need good reasons to change. They need to feel they're working towards something worthwhile. Exploring what benefits they will gain increases their purpose and helps them with the, why am I doing this? Finding that intrinsic motivator could be the catalyst they need for change. And also in that change of behaviour, that could help others. They can see how their behaviour affects the world around them in a positive way. And this creates the desire to keep working towards a beneficial change. Intrinsic motivation fuels desire, discipline, and dedication. Extrinsic motivation is usually driven by the desire to earn a reward or avoid a punishment. If you can help create intrinsic motivation in a client, they will change their behavior because they feel an internal satisfaction in their success. And this doesn't mean to say extrinsic motivation doesn't work, but people are more likely to sustain a behavioral change if they have created their own internal rewards of satisfaction in achieving their goals, rather than just a financial reward. Probably explains why rich people aren't always happy. And when they have more wealth than they dream of, they still carry on working. How can we as coaches tap into these motivators? That's a question for yourselves. As coaches, we have a number of coaching models and coaching tools at our disposal. I would like to talk to you now about how using a model of behavioural change, which will help your clients move away from their pain towards pleasure, that is a permanent change of behaviour. Let's look at some of our healthy lifestyles. There's that saying, isn't there? No pain, no gain. And we get bombarded with messages, that we are overweight. I'm not looking at anyone in particular, that it increases the risks to our health. For example, diabetes, heart disease, etc. And we know this, but changing our habits are not easy. And we often don't want to give up those habits, especially as we gain great pleasure from, let's say, eating. And we also know smoking kills, but we get addicted to our behaviours and we like routines. The first cup of coffee can be a trigger for the first cigarette if you're a smoker. If we know that habits can shorten our life, you would think changing them would be easy. but the instant hits that they give us that brief moment of pleasure in what can sometimes be stress-filled lives. And we seek refuge from our daily battles in our own drugs of life. You know the ones: salt. I do love a packet of crisps. Sugar. Oh, here I go. I love a cake as well. Alcohol. Yeah, no, I like a pint. Yeah. Drugs, I can probably miss that one out. So, but you know, there is recreational drugs out there. Social media, caffeine. Oh, as Terry takes a swig of his coffee, nicotine. There is a saying: what's your poison? Most of them have them, and we know they're bad for us. So if your clients, and they're often possibly quite like ourselves, you know, how can we help them? How can we help them instigate the changes they need to live a happy and healthy life? I mean, if we look at our relationships with ourselves and others, especially during these COVID times, many people have experienced the pain of loneliness and have missed possibly the pleasure of intimacy. And some people would have stayed in abusive relationships just so as not to lose human contact. You know, spiritually, as humans, we need connections and we need love. That often starts with self-love. I mean, if you're ever training or coaching, if you ever ask someone about their performance, they often go straight to the negative, regardless that 90% of what they did was good. And the one mistake becomes an absolute mountain. You know, when people are learning a new behavior, the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, you know, and that's very true. And we beat ourselves up if we don't get instant success. We also, some of us may have financial problems. You know, money can be a pain for us. And you also see probably, especially if you're coaches now, lots of adverts that are offering you get rich schemes. Some of these may be scams, but they're still in existence because they have a hook. They hook people into moving away from the pain of no money to, you will have the lifestyle you have always dreamed of, as I sit coaching on a beach in the Seychelles. I know I've got a fake background, but I am obviously sitting on a beach in the Seychelles and not an office somewhere in Ashford, Kent. Yeah, okay. They may also put up genuine testimonials of people who have used their methods and succeeded. But what you don't know is what percentage of their clients have failed. So just be wary of those 10x your business type adverts immediately. They might well work. I'm not saying they don't, but I think we need to be wary that they know your pain and they know what you're seeking, the pleasure and the rewards that you want. So there is many areas that people would benefit from having a coach. The main ones being health, love, money, and of course, there are niches in each one of those areas. So where do our habits come from that give us the pain we want to move away from? We learn a lot of these behaviors from a very young age. Let's take chocolate. When we were kids, parents may have rewarded us with sweets. We then associate chocolate with the pleasure of taste. But more importantly, it links back and associates itself with a time when we felt good because we gained a reward and approval from someone we love. That reward, 20, 30, 40, 50 years on, is we still feel good when we have a piece of chocolate for a brief moment. The downside is we start to crave that good feeling. And then also knowing an excess will be a problem. Then, of course, we feel bad because we know that the refined sugar in the chocolate is not good for us. But we continue to give into that feel good. And then we start to spiral in a pattern of short hits of feeling good into beating ourselves up for longer periods because we know it was not good for us. Breaking this pattern is really hard and can be quite difficult. And we know we've all experienced them. You know, giving up bad habits is a tough one. And just to cheer you up, we're creeping towards Christmas, chocolate, and excess. So I thought I'd make you feel good. So, and then we come out of Christmas and we have a New Year's resolution. Ha ha. Yeah. How long do they last? You know, let's go to the gym. We know it will be good for us, but after about 6 weeks, we start to want to avoid the pain of going to the gym because you know it will hurt. And the human mind is very good at avoidance of anything that hurts. So asking ourselves, you know, if they were our clients, what do they need to change? What is it that they want? What's holding them back? How can you, the coach, help? Because as coaches, we want to increase our clients' self-awareness, encourage confidence, and build their self-esteem. Help the client to find their solutions to their problems so as they take ownership and motivate them to change their behaviour. And as coaches, we do this through effective communication. And I'm going to give you a great model of behavioural change. And that's the trans-theoretical model of behavioural change, or as I familiarly know it as PC&M, because that's the best way I can remember it. So it can help your client away from the pain and towards the pleasure. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. You could well be familiar with it. It's a dynamic theory of change based on the assumption that there is a process to change. The model is most commonly used in changing a broad range of health behaviours, such as smoking or weight loss, and will work for any general life changes. The idea is to move towards a permanent termination of the previous behaviour. There, though, is always a danger of relapse, and the model takes this into consideration, and the process can be re-entered at any stage. The whole process is heavily linked to motivation. And this is the key to having a successful change. Moving away from an older behaviour that was damaging and towards a new behaviour with far greater rewards than the old habits. And there are 3 specific individual constructs of the model. There's the stage of change, where the client is in the process. There's decisional balance, weighing up the pros and cons of a change of behaviour. And there's self-efficacy. If I could say that easy, it would be great. Building the confidence to take and maintain action. The model, as I know it, is PC&M, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an idea about the client wants a healthier lifestyle. So clients may often start in the pre-contemplation stage. In the early stages of change, people's thoughts and feelings are primarily in evaluation of their own progress and weighing up the pros and cons. But at the pre-contemplation stage is that someone probably doesn't even know that they want to change and may not even be aware of what they want to stage. And anyway, at this initial stage, the cons will have outweighed the pros. This will start to change as they move through the process, and their intention to change moves towards a commitment to change. The client, though, at this stage will still justify their current behaviour and how happy they are in that current behaviour, and they don't need to change. I'm happy eating chocolate. I'm happy drinking beer. I'm happy smoking cigarettes. Yeah. But then you've started to sow those small paths of doubt, and they move into what we know as the contemplation stage. People here learn about the kind of person they could be if they change their behaviour, and can learn more from people who behave in healthy ways. They are starting to discover that motivation for change. And this could be the stage when they consider coaching as a support mechanism. They could even be looking at role models. What if I change? I could be more like them. At this stage, I don't want to be more like Boris and his recent presentation yesterday. So I hope I'm not using him as my role model for his presentation. I think that was quite a classic one. People here learn more about healthy behaviour. They're encouraged to think about the pros of changing their behaviour and to feel emotions about the effect of their negative behaviour on others. And they're quite often getting influenced by adverts, you know, on social media about health, wealth, love, lifestyle. And this is the stage where you start to nurture those seeds of change. You're looking for what pleasure can be associated with the change. The client may be saying things to you that, you know, they want to feel more sexier. They want their clothes to fit them again. They want the renewed energy that losing weight will bring them. They want to feel good about themselves. And they're still associating themselves with that pain of the old behavior. You know, they felt frumpy, they lacked energy, they don't like themselves when they look in the mirror. They hate themselves and they're starting to feel depressed and they lack the will to change. This is where our jobs as coaches starts to inspire them. And they move then into what's known as the preparation stage. People here take small steps that they believe can help them make the healthy behaviour part of their lives. For example, they tell their friends and family that they want to change their behaviour. They learn the better prepared, easy for me to say, the better prepared they are, the more likely they are to keep progressing. People learn how to strengthen their commitment to change and to fight urges. Oh, I like that word, urges to slip back into that old behaviour. We could have maybe used scaling at some time in this process to measure their intention and their commitment to the change. And we would have investigated what's in that gap between their score and 10. And so I think there's a difference between intention and commitment. And I'm going to tell you a story, probably based loosely around me. You know, I want to give up drinking, and I do like a pint of Guinness, and I go down my local, and I've scaled myself on that naught. I have no intention of changing and stopping drinking Guinness, and 10, I'm absolutely going to stop. And my intention's a good 9. Yeah. My commitment though on using that same scale is probably about a 6.5, 7. And let me explain why. I go down a pub and I walk into my local and Pete goes, "Oh, Graham, Guinness." And I go, "Pete, sparkling water." And as the rest of the pub roll around on the floor, laughing their heads off, yeah, I go, "No, I'm serious, boys. Sparkling water." And Peter just looks at me and laughs. And the barmaid is like just grinning. And I go, no, I want a sparkling water. Honest. And Pete goes, "Get him a Guinness." And she's already started pouring it. And I've gone, oh, okay, 1 won't hurt. And that's the problem. I'm putting myself in that environment that actually, why am I going to the pub if I want to stop drinking Guinness? Yeah. So we need to think about our intention and our commitment. So one of the powerful tools that the client can use is visualization to fire the motivation, you know, starting to get them to think about the end in mind. Yeah. We can also get them to plan for those moments when the urges get them. And they could also move back a stage or 2 in the model. That's okay. We can help them move forward again. So as they come out of that preparation stage, they're now moving into the action stage. They are implementing the change, taking maybe small steps and progressing by learning techniques to keep up their commitments, applying positive or negative connotations to stop repeating the behavior, reinforcing the new habit and keep putting it into action, taking rewards for their journey so far, praising themselves and telling their success stories to their friends and family who are supporting them. And I suppose the adage here is, how do you eat an elephant? It's one of my favorites because it takes time and it's 1 bite at a time. Yeah. When the going gets tough, it's useful to look back at the start and see how far we've come, because this can also fuel our motivation, especially if the end of the goal is still a long way ahead, because changing behaviour does take time. And then if we need to move into the maintenance stage. And it's important for people in this stage to be aware of situations that may tempt them to slip back into doing the unhealthy behaviour, particularly stressful situations like, going to the pub. Yeah. Helping the client be aware of these triggers is useful as they move towards maintenance and termination of the process. So it becomes their new lifestyle. They have plans in place for their known triggers, because they're not going to avoid social environments for the rest of their life. So they have a strategy. They also know where they can turn for support. And then the other part of the model is actually relapse. Achieving a long-term behavioural change often requires ongoing support from family members and you, the coach, or maybe another motivational source, supportive literature, because other resources can also be helpful to avoid a relapse from happening. And the intensity of temptation. I know this. I gave up smoking 4 times before I managed to quit for 30 years. And that temptation always grew. I gave up once for 18 months, 9 months and 6 months. And the trigger was the same thing every time. And I started smoking at 11 and I gave up when I was 32. And the triggers when I'd previously given up was I was on a beach with my friends, drinking beer, and again, go on, just have a cigarette. And I did. And then I just started smoking again. So we need to be aware what is our strategy, because that temptation grows, and especially once you may have fell at a hurdle, it grows even more. That's when they need support from you, the coach. So, and this, I suppose, really is the bit where it particularly refers to self-efficacy, because it's having the confidence, the self-confidence your client needs to deal with that situation when they're at high risk. So to summarize each stage in the process, each stage in the process brings a client closer to making or sustaining a behavioural change. A permanent change of behaviour is one that lasts over 6 months and has strategies to prevent relapse. When using this model, people weigh up the pros and cons of their behaviour. So finally, to sum up my ramblings today, we've been looking at motivation, especially the twin forces of motivation of moving away from pain to gain pleasure, how intrinsic motivation is the key to maintaining change. When people buy, they usually buy for emotive reasons. They buy for emotional reasons. How coaching is often based on the pain versus pleasure principle. And finally, using a model of behavioural change to help facilitate your coaching. Our Level 5 Excellence in Coaching program covers many coaching models and includes a dedicated day's training to support you growing your business. If you'd like to book a discovery call to find out more, then head over to our website, book an informal chat with me. Our website is www.coachx.co.uk. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Graham. I have a question. I'm going to get anyone who wants to put some questions in the chat box for us.
Okay.
Please tell me, why PC-PAM?
Why well, preparation,
Yeah.
contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance. So PC, police constable, PAM.
Perfect.
So just a trigger to because as coaches we sometimes get what's this model I'm trying to deliver, where am I in it? Yeah. And and if you go heavy, I'm delivering the trans theoretical model of behavioural change. That sounds a bit like up here. And then if I go PC PAM, it brings it down a little bit and I go, I can manage that. I can remember that. Yeah, I know what stage we are in this process, and I know where the client is moving through this process. So that's why PC, Pam.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I just want to check. I wanted to share your website link. Coach X, is it COACHEX and then .co.uk?
It is, yeah.
I've popped that in the chat box for everyone. Has anyone got any questions for Graham based on anything that he's shared with us today?
Okay, look, no, I know there's never any questions, but hey, I've got a question for you. What's your motivation to get up in the morning? What drives you? Is it money or is it something else?
Anyone? I'll go in. I'm a chatterbox, so I'll answer. Mine is ridding.
Hang on, Ruby.
Good, got someone.
Yep.
Like Graham, if I don't wake up, I will become lazy and I can't be in bed. So I have to wake up, help my wife and children and do something. Unless I'm ill, I can't be in bed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what was good there is you said you help your wife and children, and there's that internal motivator and not that external motivator, because we go to work generally to get some money that feeds our wife and children. And that's a bit up, but I mean, because my wife went to work to feed me, so, but we get the gist of that. Yeah. So yeah, no, and there's that internal motivator. I want to be someone who supports my wife and children. So good. Ruby, you were going to say.
Only if other people aren't talking. So I'll let everyone else talk first.
No, go on. No, you go. You go, please.
I'm on a mission to rid the world of grumpy people. So
okay.
My father was really grumpy and he would just, constantly moaning. So I just want to brighten people's day. Whatever way I can do that, that's my mission. So I'm driven to do that in whatever way I can.
Okay. At this point, Terry might tell you a joke. Yeah. No, he's not going to. I'm not going to embarrass him to get him to tell him one of his jokes. I suppose I've got another question. Have you ever bought anything for an emotional reason? What did you buy and why? Because sometimes you get the same thing. It's cheaper. It's like cars. We could get a cheap car. It will do the same thing moving from A to B. What is your emotional reason when you've bought something? Have you had an emotional reason that triggered you?
A wedding ring.
A wedding ring. Yes. You wouldn't have bought it otherwise, Terry. It was that the fact that you were in love.
Well, allegedly, yeah.
Yeah. Allegedly. I hope she ain't listening.
No.
No, she won't be. It sounds like we might have partied. Let's see.
Today.
Yeah.
To make her happy.
To make her happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the emotional reason to buy. Yeah.
Yeah. She buy a holiday for us, so I want to give this one.
Okay. That's you see, and it's there, isn't it? It's there all the time. Those emotional reasons to buy are fueling our desire, and if we know that as coaches, because we do need to market, and we do need to tap into people's desires, and if we know this, then that can help our own marketing. I mean, I suppose the question is, do you have a pain that you'd want to move away from? When I say a pain, you like, a lifestyle change that you would like, or are you perfectly happy in your own skin and you've got the life you've always desired?
Moving away from thinking about the cost of everything.
Okay. And moving towards?
Not really worrying about it.
Okay.
Just going and do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Okay. And have you got strategies, Terry?
Yep. Do them at the minute.
Good. And are there any barriers to those strategies?
Yeah, me.
Okay.
Generally.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it is us. That. I mean, I'm going to guess it, Terry. Is it that a little bit of that procrastination monster?
Yeah, of course, yes, yeah. Amongst other things, yeah.
Amongst other things, like a family,
like family life, deciding what I'm going to get rid of to make time for what I want to do. Because you have to make time and space.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you do something new.
Yeah, and time is always a challenge for most of us because we're busy people. Okay. Does anyone have any other behavioural change models that they use to help their clients change their behaviour?
I like to talk to clients about BJ Fogg, who does a lot around behaviour and triggers and that kind of thing. So having a trigger thing, like attaching it to something that you already do. So if you want to go to the gym, put your gym bag out. If you want to drink more water, put a bottle on the table, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right, that's good, and I can see how that works because I think actually, subconsciously, I probably might use them myself. I do put my gym bag by the back door, and then when I'm sitting there having a cup of tea and a cake, I'm going, the gym bag, oh, it's calling me, the gym bag. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, the guilt is the guilt. Yeah, and I force myself to go. So that's a nice one, Ruby. Okay. Is there anything else?
No other questions from anyone? Okay, I think that's covered everything. So we will do our usual wrap up at the end where we just spend a minute doing CPD. So just want you to write down your biggest takeaways from today and any action that you're going to take. We do it today on the call because it's so easy to walk away from these kind of things and say you're going to do it and then it never happens. So I'll set a timer for 1 minute, and then if you want to just share your takeaways in the chat box, you can, and then put any action you're going to take against that. So I will go quiet while you do that now. Okay, so thank you, Terry, for sharing. People buy emotionally, target emotions in my marketing. I really loved the story about the car and all the different things around that. It really brought it more to life for everyone. Anyone else got anything from a biggest takeaway and any action you're going to take on CPD? Just share it in the chat box. You will get the opportunity to catch the replay. We will send that out it will go onto the blog post, onto a blog post in the next couple of days once it's been tidied up and edited, if there's anything to edit. And thank you very much, Graham, for a really insightful session. And thank you everyone for being here live, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Do you need to stop the recording?